Disney Infinity, perhaps one of the biggest games of last decade. Launching in 2013, this was sure to be a success. A Skylanders-style game which saw players buying in-person little figurines you would then put on a portal to be able to play inside a game. Think it was the Fortnite item shop, but 10 years ago. Did the nostalgia kick in? Oh yeah. A much simpler time, where you didn't have to worry about the bills you'd pay. You didn't have to worry about spending a stupid amount of money on a Big Mac. But no, this time you could spend $12.99 on a single figure, play with it once, and never use it again.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
Not to mention, there were 3 different versions of this game. Disney Infinity was by far one of the most expensive purchases that Disney has ever put out there. And today we're going to be discussing its rise in 2013 and its unfortunate downfall in 2016. Hi, my name is Luis. I am a filmmaker, massive Disney, Pixar nerd, everything like that. We cover all things films, parks, animation, all here on the channel. Also over on my TikTok, so if you do like this sort of content, please go check it out. We're nearly at 700 subscribers on this channel, so please hit that like and subscribe button. It's free. You can unsubscribe at any time. Help me get my goal of 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2024. We do have lots of Disney Infinity videos planned, so if you do like this content, let me know down below. We've got characters that never came out. We've got to talk about the 12-inch series, and maybe, if this is received correctly, we'll do a playthrough, because I want to play Disney Infinity again. I just need a reason. I don't really need a reason, I just want a reason. Justifies it, and honestly, probably feel less bad about my purchases. So, it all started 2013. The Avalanche Studios, of course, behind many of the Disney games in general. They had ties with Warner Brothers, things like that as well. They came out with a game called Disney Infinity. Now, it launched in August 2013, and I received this for my 11th birthday. I will never forget opening Disney Infinity. I came home from school. I had a sick-ass chocolate cake, and I whipped out this present. One that my parents were saving until after school, because they knew that realistically, if I was given a Disney game as a child, I wasn't going into school. I unbox it, and I end up spending the next 15 hours playing this game. I was hooked. And at the time, for me, the Monsters University world was absolutely it. And we'll go on to that in a little bit. The concept came from the beloved Toy Story 3 game, which personally, I think is utterly fantastic. Again, I want to do a playthrough of this on the channel, because for me, this is by far one of the best, if not the best, Disney game of all time, especially Pixar. It's just so ridiculously addictive. However, the thing that the world fell in love with was the toy box mode. This effectively was what is now known as Fortnite Creative. I think that's the best way of putting it, especially to anyone who never played it. I'm assuming you've probably played Fortnite. It would basically give you the ability to play as your Toy Story characters, where half the game is a storied version where you'd go through different levels based on the Toy Story 3 film, and then you also got the option to do a sandbox version of the game. This allowed you to build, customize your own towns, and grow your community in general. It was fantastic fun. Again, I spent hours on this as a child. Every sleepover, banging. So they realized that this was such a big success, of course, with the release of Toy Story 3, that Disney then started creating a game with the Avalanche Game Studios, which then released as Disney Infinity. The premise then combined that Toy Story 3 sandbox mode alongside a Skylanders style game. Now, for those of you who also didn't play Skylanders, this was also pretty sick. I have a very special connection to the Skylanders game, because I was actually on a TV show called Friday Download. If you're in the UK, let me know if you ever watched this, because it was sick. But I was on one of the episodes where they did a section, which is basically where they showed off different games and things like that, and I was absolutely flabbergasted. Somewhere on the internet, I'm still yet to find it, is a photo of me as a 10-year-old child literally dribbling at what is this Skylanders game. This was basically Disney Infinity, but for fun monsters. It came first, and it introduced the concept of physical figurines. You would then place them on a portal, and it would read the card that was underneath the bottom of the figure, kind of like an Apple AirTag sort of vibe. It would then read that in-game and transport your figure into the game. Of course, only certain figures had certain QRs, so you weren't able to just unlock random figures with a random card. You had to purchase the figure to get the guy in-game, which, as you can imagine, ain't cheap. Every single individual figure was about $12.99, which again, ain't cheap. I know, I am now a grown adult who collects Funko figures for a living. Or that's what I think anyway. But it was a unique concept. There really wasn't many people doing it. At the time, Skylanders were the only competitors, and this was a Disney game. Bets are, it's going to be a little bit more popular. So they released the base game with 2 different game modes. The first one was playset, which, similar to the Toy Story 3 style, you would basically be dropped into the world of whoever your character was, and you'd be given a world token, and you would play as the character that you have got in their world. The other version was then what was known as the Toy Box mode, and this was the one that appealed to all. This was basically a more complex version of what you had in Toy Story, but with a much, much bigger expanse for creativity. Like everything. Fully customizable. You could unlock the craziest stuff, and if you are remotely a Disney nerd, this was for you. And to be honest, if you click this video, you've probably played Disney Infinity extensively. But the Toy Box mode is really what made this game soar. When the game released in 2013 on different platforms, you were given the base game, the Disney Infinity Portal, and 3 base characters, alongside their 3 base worlds. Now, all of these worlds are able to be used with other characters that you can then purchase as separate purchases later down the line. Again, bear in mind these figures are $12.99 each. It got expensive. But in the original game that was released, we had Sully and the Monsters University world, which was my personal favourite. This is the one that I spent hours and hours on, just terrorising people with a toilet paper launcher, because that was funny. You then had the Incredibles, as well as Metro City. Metropolis? Metro City? I can't remember. And you had Jack Sparrow in the world of Pirates of the Caribbean. So 2 Pixar IPs and 1 Disney, and even then, live action, technically parks. Personally, I think that's a slightly weird choice. However, originally it was supposed to be Jack Sparrow, Sully, and the Lion King. It was supposed to be Simba, but that is for a later video. So subscribe, turn on those push notifications, and we'll see you in a future video. And these 3, they were sick. These characters were then modelled in a brand new way. It gave a whole new look which would be cohesive across any different studio that would enter themselves into the picture. Whether it was a live action film, whether it was a Pixar animation, a Disney animation, everything looked cohesive. It looked like it belonged in the same world, which is what gave Disney that upper hand than other studios, and it gave them the ability to create such a fantastic game. You were able to mix all your favourite universes together to create your favourite game. And because of that, Toy Box mode shone through extensively. And the visuals in general were a huge help. This game is visually stunning. And realistically, yes, some of the gameplay mechanics could have been a little bit better. The only downside is you couldn't play cross-universe. That meant that Sully could not play in the world of Pirates of the Caribbean, Mr. Incredible could not play in Monsters University, and Jack Sparrow could not play in Metropolis, which a lot of people anticipated when buying the game. The game also wasn't cheap either, I'll put it that way, and it came as a pretty big box. This was probably one of the bigger purchases your parents made for you as a child, or if you're watching this as an adult, then your pockets probably hurt. However, it was worth it, at first anyway. Because as I said, there was nothing like it. Skylanders was the closest you would get. That, realistically, was the start of their downfall before they really even began. You couldn't do cross-universe, it was expensive, and there was probably better ways of doing things. Obviously now we do have Fortnite Creative, which is a whole different ball game at this current stage in time. You are able to do some crazy things in this new game engine, of course using Unreal Engine, and I would love to see Disney recreate Disney Infinity maybe in the future. Maybe it's like an anniversary game or something like that. That would be sick. And that brings me on to my next point, because I actually think that Disney are. Very recently, Disney announced that they were collaborating with Epic Games in a brand new, groundbreaking game that nothing has ever been seen like it. We did actually break down that on the channel. Shut up. Right, okay, so go and check out that video if you haven't already. But I generally think that Disney Infinity will be returning. This time, instead of buying the physical figures, as cool as they are, I think we're going to have them Fortnite style in a Fortnite item shop where you can purchase these figures. I reckon we're going to see battle passes. And of course, as we learned at D23, we've already got the Incredibles coming to Fortnite, Disney villains, obviously Marvel, Star Wars, all of that is already in there as well. So I reckon we could actually be seeing return of them, and we're going to go a little bit further onto that in another video as well. But seeing as we've got a couple of the lands returning in some of the concept art, as well as some new lands, there's also the ability to watch things like ESPN, Disney+, so it's a brand new, huge, expansive sort of in-universe, in-game reality that we are going to be seeing in the near future. And I'm so excited for more updates on this. For me, I reckon this is the return of Disney Infinity. That was basically it for Disney Infinity 1.0. It was a very basic game. It was cool. It was groundbreaking, something new. And of course, as I said, it's Disney. It was going to be popular. However, 2014, just a year later, they released a sequel. I don't understand why they didn't wait a slightly bit longer for this. But if it was there, the market was there. This time, it was in the form of Marvel. This time, it was a very sort of unique, diverse way of playing because each different character had unique abilities, power-ups, and they were in the same universe. However, 2.0 didn't really have any new Disney content. There was the ability to play with a few new characters, for sure. You got the introductions of people like Stitch, Donald Duck, but unfortunately that was kind of it, and you were kind of stuck with using those just in that toy box mode. And annoyingly, you couldn't use 2.0 characters in the 1.0 game, and vice versa. You couldn't use 1.0 characters in the 2.0 game. If you wanted to play with Mr. Incredible, you had to play with that 1.0. If you wanted to play with Donald Duck, you had to play in the 2.0. There was no cross game, and that again was a big setback for Disney. And to be honest, that alienated a lot of the Disney fan base. Due to this, they sort of ran into a little bit of an identity crisis, realistically, and it became super expensive. Disney didn't know who they wanted to be, what sort of game they wanted to create. They realistically just wanted to appeal at what is going to be the best for them financially, which of course, when you're introducing Marvel and Star Wars into the mix, you're going to get people coming along the way for the ride. However, I really don't think they should have done it. If it was called Disney Infinity, leave it to Disney and Pixar. That's what made the first game so beautiful. And unfortunately, Disney lost the investment to expand. So in 2015, they decided it was a good idea to release Disney Infinity 3.0 because the other two went so well. By this point, Disney Infinity was also a mobile, and that was just janky, but it was still fun because it means you can access it from anywhere. And Disney Infinity 3.0 brought in Star Wars, which of course, this was iconic. And it resonated with a lot of people for obvious reasons. This was also the introduction of things like Inside Out into the game, which was pretty popular, some really fun characters. And they did add a lot more Disney alongside that. And realistically, I have no idea why they didn't add him sooner, but Mickey Mouse is finally in the game. Realistically, he should have been in the first Disney Infinity. They did have a Sorceress Mickey. And of course, as the game expanded, it got a lot more expensive. Not just for us as purchasers, but mainly for Disney and Avalanche, because these figures, obviously, as you can tell, are not cheap to make. They were proper, like, plastic vinyl figurines with technology inside them, and realistically, if you released one bad figure, that's a massive financial burden. And by this time, Skylanders was doing many different games. They were getting big. They had introduced new spin-offs, they'd introduced new card games, video games, board games, and Skylanders realistically started becoming a household name. At this point in time, Warner Brothers then also wanted to get their fingers in the pies, and they released a game alongside Lego, which was Lego Dimensions. Now, this was a fantastic concept. I don't really think it took off because this was more expensive than Disney Infinity, and Disney Infinity was already pretty expensive. So Lego Dimensions didn't last a super long time, but I loved the concept of it. Awesome. So that left Disney in a bit of a pickle because there was now competitive challenging in the market. And after the release of 3.0, unfortunately, sales massively declined. And unfortunately, the market in toy-to-life gaming became rather saturated. Not to mention the amount of people that were then selling their games after they'd played it for a certain period of time. People were growing up, growing out of the games. This was released around sort of like, my age, for example, I'm 21. This was my 11th, 12th birthday. And by the time I'd stopped playing them, I was nearly 15. Now, personally, I am a massive Disney nerd. I would have carried on doing it till I was 90.
Disney brought him back. They're going to make him do this till he's 90.
But other people that got this for a casual play-along and weren't a fat nerd like myself were moving on pretty quickly. And with a little bit of analysis, the critics, it was then dubbed genre fatigue. Parents then started realising that actually this was way too financially strenuous. I'm not going to have to sell my car for the Lone Ranger. Yes, this was a set they thought would do very well. And realistically, at the end of the day, because of that, because of the rapid decline in player base, the rapid decline in sales, and the rapid decline of people buying the actual figures themselves, not to mention the competitiveness amongst other games coming out, Disney just couldn't compete. There was too much loss. And as I said, if they released one bad figure, or one figure that realistically an audience didn't care about, that's a massive financial loss. Not to mention these figures were obviously made in time for a film's release, so if a film did release and then no one cared about a certain character, or no one cared about the film in the end, it's not a good day. And around that time, we started getting more gaming advancements, which realistically made it look less innovative. This then showed Disney that they'd realistically just be funneling their money into a dead game. Because of this, losses were then rumoured to be a whopping $147 million. And even for a company of Disney's size, that is not a positive number. So, unfortunately, in May of 2016, it was then cancelled. The Avalanche Game Studios shut their doors, and Disney Infinity was no more. Until they announced that they're partnering with Epic Games and it's coming back. At this time, Disney Infinity 4.0 was then in development. Another game. 4 games in 4 years. And just to give you an idea, there are a lot of figurines in this franchise. A lot of them. And some weren't well received. Unfortunately, however, Disney Infinity 4.0 would have answered every single person's problems. It would have fulfilled everyone. And there has been clips of this online posted, and we will talk about this in a future video as well, the future of Disney 4.0. We would have had advanced game mechanics. We would have had new, different, diverse abilities. More creative tools, making that toy box mode even bigger than it already was. More characters. But the most important one everybody wanted, cross-universe play. We would have been able to play as different characters in different universes. As part of this sort of beta concept that was being released to show us as the public what was going on behind the scenes, we could see in the world of Aladdin, or as the Agrabah, we were able to play as Yoda.
Great job, little genie guy.
Sully, anyone, which would have answered everyone's prayers from 2013. They finally listened. Unfortunately, it was just a little bit too late. Avalanche Studios then did shut their doors. Over 300 employees then lost their jobs. And of course, Avalanche, as we know, are behind some pretty iconic games. Due to this massive closure of one of the biggest games of the early 2010s, many other studios shut down. LEGO Dimensions stopped, and Skylanders significantly reduced in size. However, somehow they managed to keep afloat. They clearly made way too much money off the first couple games. I personally own Skylanders, Skylander Giants, Skylander Swap Force, because realistically they were actually more affordable. But then shortly after that, unfortunately, the Toys to Life concept and gaming in general in that genre slowly died. Things like the Fortnite item shop then started coming out, where you were able to purchase skins inside the item shop, and then since then, of course, we've seen countless other places, countless other games having that feature, which is what makes me think that Epic Games is collaborating with Disney in a very similar fashion. We know how closely they've been working over the last couple of years for their Star Wars collabs, Marvel collabs, and of course, as I mentioned, we are now getting a collaboration with Pixar in the form of The Incredibles. I will be getting Frozone, and of course the Disney villains as well. I think this is just a taster into what could be coming, because realistically, if we can get a Disney Infinity style game in the same way that Fortnite was created, obviously not necessarily pew pew guns everywhere, just an open world exploration in the Unreal Engine, it will blow gaming through the roof, and is probably going to be the biggest game of all time. I think alongside that, we will then get new stories, we'll get different modes to play through, maybe even different worlds that we can purchase as well, a battle pass sort of system, potentially each different battle pass themed to something new, maybe to coincide with some of the new releases. Of course, we've got things like Lilo and Stitch coming in the future, Incredibles 3, alongside Toy Story 5, all that jazz. Can you picture being a Buzz Lightyear Fortnite skin? Need I say more? And just all of those beloved games that we grew up playing in high definition, in brand new 4K gameplay. I cannot even fathom how fantastic a game like this would be. And that's my personal prediction. I think Disney and Epic Games have been working on something like that, which also will include TV watchability, things like that as well. But yeah, that was the rise and fall of one of the most beloved games that Disney has ever created, Disney Infinity. I personally loved these games. I would play them every single day. And again, if you do want me to, I would be more than happy to do so, and put some playthroughs on the channel, do some stupid stuff. But if you want to see that, hit that like and subscribe button, help me. We're nearly at 700 followers. We might even be at 700 by the time this video comes out. And if you're watching this and I'm not on 700 followers, great. I might be on even more, which I'll be even more happy about. So please, hit that like and subscribe button. It's free. Let me know, did you guys love Disney Infinity? If so, which one did you play? 1, 2, 3, all of them? Which one was your favourite sort of world, your characters to play? And do you think a brand new Disney Infinity is on the horizon with Epic Games, big Fortnite style? And again, if you do like Disney Infinity, please click that bell icon, because in the next couple of weeks, we will also be releasing videos that go alongside this one, speaking more about Disney Infinity in general. But for now, stay safe, peace out, I'll see you soon.